If in 20 seconds you don't feel your body change, this video isn't for you. Thoth left behind 2 words capable of reprogramming your reality. I'm not going to say what they are right now. First, I'm going to prove to you that the mechanism works on you. Adjust your posture. Unlock your jaw. Inhale through your nose for 4, hold for 2, exhale for 6. Touch the center of your chest. Replace the automatic phrase you keep repeating with one that puts you into motion. Instead of, "I'm stuck," silently say, "I'm moving forward now." Feel your shoulder drop, the air come in differently. There. You've just emitted identity. The field responds to that, not to vague wishes. In Hermeticism, a word is a command. In the tablets attributed to Thoth, the voice shapes the ether. You've already received the first delivery, real-time state change. Now I'm going to open the mirror that never edits your script and reveal the invisible error that takes most people down before they even start. Later on, I'll give you the manifesto of the divine state to lock the frequency into your body in 1 minute. And when your system is ready, I'll release the 2 words left by Thoth in the right way, so they won't be sabotaged by your mind. Stay with me, because without the complete sequence, the effect doesn't stick. Let's begin. That in you which sees and hears is the Logos of the Lord. Your mind is God the Father. They are not separate. Their union is life. Imagine a mirror so perfect that it not only reflected your physical image, but the entire invisible set you carry. Thoughts, emotions, intentions, memories, beliefs. This mirror does not distort, interpret, or filter. It returns exactly the vibration it receives. This is how the field that sustains all existence works. It is not moral, not selective, and does not judge whether you deserve or not. It simply responds to what you are at the moment you emit. It is as if the universe were a great scribe faithfully transcribing the frequency you present, turning it into events, people, and circumstances. Hermes Trismegistus, in the Corpus Hermeticum, described this field as a perfect mirror of the soul. It does not return the mask you wear for the world, but the essence pulsing in your core. That's why it doesn't matter if outwardly you say you want prosperity, love, or peace. If inside your frequency is soaked in fear, lack, or distrust, that is what will be reflected. It is the same principle applied in inner alchemy. The outer matter is only the reflection of the inner work. You do not change gold by transforming it from the outside in. First, you transmute the inner state, and the gold appears as a consequence. This mechanism explains why so many people, even with clear dreams and goals, remain stuck in the same scenario. The energy they are being does not match what they say they want. It's like asking the mirror to smile before you smile. The reflection does not start the movement, it only returns it. This also reveals why certain forms of humility end up becoming self-sabotage. When someone, out of fear of seeming arrogant, dims their own light, their vibration shrinks, and the field returns exactly that reduced state. In the same way, the so-called realism of those who cling only to what they already see ends up limiting expansion, because that kind of thinking reinforces the current state and prevents new possibilities from appearing. Try a simple test right now. Notice your posture, the tone of your voice, and the words you usually use to describe yourself. If the first phrase that comes to mind is, "I'm tired," replace it with, "I'm restoring my energy." This small switch changes the vibrational signature the field is receiving. It's not about pretending you're fine, but about sending a different signal to the universal mirror. Instead of confirming limitation, you begin to confirm a state in the process of expansion. And when this practice becomes consistent, the reflection inevitably begins to change. This is one of the most challenging points for the ordinary mind, because it has been trained to believe that the world must change first before it can feel differently. But the mirror does not work like that. It does not adjust the image on its own. It returns, with precision, the message you are emitting right now. That's why real change doesn't start with a request, but with a silent decision to be different before the external proof appears. Now let's expose the invisible error that sabotages 95% of people even when they start affirming the new. The hidden error. There is a silent mechanism that operates long.
It does not adjust the image on its own.
It lives in the deepest layers of the mind, where memories, beliefs, and past experiences accumulate and form a constant vibrational pattern. This pattern is your dominant frequency, and it is that, not isolated affirmations, that determines what the field will reflect. Imagine a radio station transmitting the same signal day and night. From time to time, you may try to play a different song, but the main transmitter will keep sending the same programming. This is how the subconscious works. Even when you try to say something new, it keeps broadcasting the old signal. That is why so many people don't understand why they repeat the same cycles. They say, "I am prosperous" every morning, but throughout the day, they carry a deeply rooted vibration that affirms something completely opposite. This vibration comes from years of hearing, believing, and repeating phrases like, "I'm bad with money," "I never have luck," "Nothing works out for me." Even if these statements were about specific moments, the habit of repeating them turned them into a fixed identity. And a fixed identity is like dry cement. It only breaks with conscious and focused effort. In the Hermetic tradition, this phenomenon would be called mental crystallization. What began as a passing state, fatigue, scarcity, insecurity, solidifies when the mind adopts it as part of who you are. Thoth warned about the danger of wrong names. When you name yourself from a place of limitation, you energetically seal a pattern that the field will sustain with precision. In inner alchemy, this is like sealing impurities into the metal instead of purifying it before shaping it. The good news is that there is a practical and powerful way to break this rigidity: conscious interruption. This technique does not require you to force a positive belief you do not yet feel is true, but rather to interrupt the flow of the old pattern and replace it with something neutral yet aligned. If you notice yourself saying, "I'm tired," stop and change it to "I'm restoring my energy." If you notice yourself thinking, "I'm terrible with money," replace it with "I'm learning to manage my money with ease." This gentle transition weakens the old program and opens space for a new vibrational coding. When this process is practiced consistently, something fascinating happens. The main signal begins to change. Little by little, the dominant frequency of the subconscious adjusts to the new pattern, and the old automatic statements lose their strength. It's like correcting the course of a ship. At first, a small adjustment seems insignificant, but over time, it completely changes the destination. Because the universe responds to the way you observe yourself. This is the heart of the so-called observer effect. What you repeatedly see as yourself gains density and begins to exist in the material plane. It's as if every self-image you hold were a seed cast into the quantum field, and with each repetition you water it until it sprouts. But it's not enough to have a sporadic intention or an isolated thought. It is the constancy of observation that collapses the possibility into concrete form. Imagine that your identity is like the motherboard of a computer. All the actions, thoughts, and decisions you execute are just programs running on that base. If the motherboard is configured for a certain kind of functioning, it doesn't matter how many new applications you install. The system will still follow the fundamental rules it carries. This is how your life works. You don't live what you want. You live what you believe yourself to be. Identity is the core. Emotion is the fuel. Action is the execution. And evidence is the final reflection of this chain. This is the identity, emotion, action, evidence cycle. Understanding this is like finding the hidden map behind all the results you have ever achieved. Thoth, in traditions attributed to him, warned about the danger of incorrect names. When you name yourself according to a limitation, that label becomes a vibrational anchor. It's as if you were telling the universe, "Keep me exactly here." Alchemy calls this false crystallization, when energy gets stuck in an imperfect mold and stops flowing into new forms. In Hermeticism, this block can only be dissolved through the principle of solutio, dismantling the rigid structure so it can be recreated in a purer and more aligned way. What few people realize is that simply repeating a personal description, even casually, acts as an observation command in the field. If you define yourself constantly by what you lack or what you fear, you are literally collapsing versions of reality that sustain that lack or that fear. On the other hand, when you begin to define yourself by the essence you want to manifest, the field reorganizes its elements to reflect this new state. This is where the most powerful changes begin, not when you try to force action, but when you adjust the lens through which you observe yourself. Think of your life as an identity thermometer. Every time you say something that expresses your chosen essence, the temperature rises.
Imitation.
Every time
That
you
label
reinforce
becomes a
your
vibrational anchor.
the temperature drops. It's not about ignoring what is happening, but about deciding which identity you will feed as the basis for all your experiences. When identity remains stable, emotion adjusts, action flows naturally, and evidence multiplies to confirm what you have already decided to be. The time has come to open the classic record that consecrated the two most powerful words in the universe and show why it's not ego, it's alignment. The two most powerful words in the world. We've reached the point where all the pieces laid out so far fit together. The moment when the key is revealed, not as a trick, but as something that has always been in front of us, recorded in the oldest texts, and repeated by those who dared to cross the veil. The two most powerful words a human being can speak. I am. They were not born as a nice phrase to boost self-esteem. They are the command structure of reality itself. In the book of Exodus, when Moses asks for God's name, The answer is direct. I am that I am. There is no compliment, no justification. It is the pure statement of existence, independent of circumstance, time or condition. In the Hermetic tradition, this declaration is the recognition that the all and the individual being share the same essence. There is no separation between creator and creature, only different expressions of the same principle. In the Emerald Tablets, attributed to Thoth, we find the idea that the one who declares I am in a state of unity becomes one with the all, participating in the creative force that shapes worlds. In alchemy, it is the moment of conjuncture, the sacred union between the seeker and the inner philosopher's stone. It is when the seeker and the sought become the same thing. The gold you searched for outside is revealed to have been you all along. But why does this phrase have so much power? Because the moment you say I am, the field does not interpret it as a wish or a future plan. It receives it as a definition of identity and begins to reorganize itself to reflect exactly that definition. That's why replacing phrases like I'm trying to heal with I am healed is not a lie. It is frequency leadership. You are not denying what you feel now. You are commanding the energy toward the point where you want it to stabilize. The same goes for I'm working to have abundance, which becomes I am abundant now. It is the decision to speak from the destination, not from the path. When spoken with awareness and coherence, this phrase is not an empty repetition. It is a vibrational seal. Think about how your voice sounds when you say something you don't believe compared to when you say something you know is true. The first is fragile, hesitant. The second is firm, deep, charged with conviction. This difference is not only emotional, it is energetic. It is the difference between sending out a scattered signal and sending a concentrated beam that crosses the field without dissipating. You can feel this right now. Take a deep breath, align your posture, and mentally or out loud say a phrase that begins with I am, choosing something you want to embody. Compare the feeling when you speak as if you are asking with the feeling when you speak as if you are stating a fact. This inner shift is the signature the field recognizes and replicates. It is the point where you stop trying to convince reality and start commanding it with clarity. There is a point at which words and thoughts, no matter how well chosen, are not enough to move the field. It is the moment when mind and heart must strike the same note. When that happens, the transmission you send is no longer fragmented. It becomes a single, clean beam, impossible to confuse with any other signal. The Heart Math Institute calls this cardiac coherence, a state in which the heartbeat, brainwaves, and breathing enter into perfect harmony, creating a stable and powerful electromagnetic field. It is as if in that moment, your entire being was singing the same melody, and the universe could hear it with no background noise. Hermetic initiates described something very similar, but in their language they called it the harmony of the spheres. They believed that each part of the human being resonated like an instrument within a cosmic orchestra. When the rational mind, the emotional heart, and the physical body vibrate together, it is as if the individual were tuning into the music of the all. In initiatory alchemy, this state is compared to the perfect balance of the inner fire and water, opposite forces that, when harmonized, produce a constant, creative heat capable of transmuting any inner substance. To reach this state, You don't need years of isolation or complex practices. There is a simple protocol with immediate impact that you can try right now. It is the 60-second protocol. First, breathe slowly and deeply, allowing air to enter through your nose and leave through your mouth in a controlled way. Second, while breathing, consciously evoke a feeling of gratitude. It doesn't matter for what, just feel it until it spreads through your body. Third, in the rhythm of that breath, declare mentally or softly, "I am," followed by what you want to embody as your identity, effortlessly, without hurry, simply letting the phrase flow in sync with your inhalation and exhalation. This practice creates an alignment that the mind alone cannot generate. You are not just thinking something, you are feeling and being that something in the same instant. It is as if every cell were informed of the new frequency and began to vibrate in alignment. If you could visualize it, it would be like watching diffuse light concentrate until it forms a single beam that crosses space without scattering. This is pure transmission, the kind the field picks up instantly, without misinterpretation, and begins to replicate in the form of events, encounters, and opportunities. With the transmission clear, the next step is to train the body not to sabotage the new role, and this is where many people slip. Resonance. When the world vibrates back. For the declaration, "I am to stay alive and bear fruit," it is not enough for the mind to believe it. The body needs to feel safe living this new identity. Otherwise, it acts as a guardian of the old pattern, silently sabotaging any progress. This happens because the body holds emotional memories, stored in the muscles, in the breath, in posture, and even in internal chemistry. If at some point in the past, abundance was associated with loss, conflict, or fear, every step toward it triggers warning signals, even if rationally you want to move forward. The body, trying to protect you, pulls you back into the zone it knows, even if that zone is limited. Thoth said that the body is the temple of the spirit. In the temple, it is not enough to have beautiful words or pure intentions. The space must be clean, stable, and harmonized so that higher forces can act. In alchemy, this is the stage of fixatio, when the new form must be stabilized so it will not dissolve. It is at this point that the I am descends from the mind and is engraved into flesh and blood. When this happens, it is not just a thought that changes, it is the feeling in your chest, the way you breathe, the firmness with which you step on the ground. The entire body begins to confirm the new identity. There is a simple and powerful exercise to start this reprogramming, the 90-second drill of safety in the new self. First, close your eyes and remember a moment of deep peace, something that truly made you feel protected and in balance. It could be a scene from childhood, a place in nature, a moment of silent connection. Feel every detail of that memory, the temperature of the air, the sounds, the light. Second, place your hand on your chest and notice the rhythm of your heart, keeping your breathing slow and steady. Third, in the rhythm of that beat, declare your chosen I am, as if you were imprinting this identity directly into the foundation of your being. Repeat until the phrase sounds natural, as if it had been yours for a long time. When body and mind agree, the frequency becomes solid, hard to break by external factors. From this point on, you no longer need to exert effort to maintain the state. it becomes the new reference. With the body aligned, we activate the silent law that draws realities effortlessly. Resonance. Resonance is like the relationship between two tuning forks. If you make one vibrate at the right note, the other, even at a distance, begins to vibrate too without you touching it. This is the mechanism that moves the field when you are in coherence with your chosen identity. It is not about chasing, pursuing, or convincing. Reality itself adjusts and moves toward you. In Hermeticism, this is the practical expression of the principle of correspondence. What is above is like what is below, and what is within is like what is without. When what is within you vibrates in harmony with the universal law, what is outside responds automatically. Thoth described that when a person vibrates in tune with the laws of the All, worlds open without resistance. This opening is the alchemical multiplicatio. The inner gold expands. It is not restricted to the individual, but spreads through the surrounding field, influencing environments, relationships, and circumstances. It is as if every thought, gesture, and word began to carry the exact note of your I am, and everything that vibrates in that note is drawn into your space. Here, there is no conscious effort to maintain it, because the frequency feeds itself. What you are begins to generate more of what you are, creating an upward cycle. To keep this harmony, it is essential to take care of frequency hygiene. This means paying attention to the way you speak, the posture you adopt, the environments you frequent, and the people you interact with. A misaligned tone of voice, a heavy environment, or a conversation that reinforces old patterns can act like small dissonances, reducing the clarity of the note you emit. On the other hand, coherent words, uplifting environments, and people who strengthen your new state act as reinforcement so that resonance remains stable. Time to install the daily loop that prevents oscillation and locks the divine state in as the standard. Manifesto of the divine state. The stabilization loop is the silent guardian of the divine state. Without it, even the highest identity can dissolve in the noise of daily life, swallowed by demands, distractions, and old patterns. This loop is made up of 3 movements that, at first glance, are so simple that many underestimate them. But each is an essential gear in a precise spiritual mechanism. Pause, feel, and act from the I am. The first movement, pause, is the key that interrupts the autopilot guiding most people without their awareness. To pause is not simply to stop, it is to suspend inner time, to create a microspace between impulse and action so that choice is not dictated by old conditioning. Imagine you are about to respond to a tense email, enter a decisive meeting, or make a simple payment. Before the gesture happens, you take a breath and ask, does this action represent my I am, or is it a reflection of my old programming? This pause is like placing a filter at the entrance. Nothing comes in and nothing goes out without passing through the lens of the identity you have chosen to embody. It is in this instant that you prevent the old frequency from slipping in and starting to erode the new pattern. The second movement is feel. Here, you tune into the emotional state that matches your I am with the same precision a musician uses to tune an instrument. It is not enough to think of abundance. You must feel the security of someone already living in abundance. It is not enough to visualize health. You must feel in your body the vitality and balance of someone who is healthy now. This feeling is more than support. It is the fuel of coherent manifestation. The quantum field responds to what you are at the vibrational level, not just to what you imagine or wish for. Feeling is switching on the transmitter that sends the universe an unmistakable signature, a pure tone that cannot be confused. This is the point where you stop being a mere spectator and become an active broadcaster of a reality. The third movement is act. But not just any action. It is the action that translates in the physical world the inner state you have chosen. It might be the posture with which you walk into a room, the tone of voice with which you reply to a message, or the care you take in organizing your workspace. Each micro-decision is an opportunity to reinforce the frequency. Throughout the day, dozens of these small acts accumulate, forming a continuous flow that cements the new pattern. This is how the divine state stops being an isolated moment and becomes your new normal. In Hermetic schools, this was called constant vigilance. Every act, every emotion, and every word were guarded as treasures. In alchemy, it corresponded to premeditatio, the maintenance of a constant fire so the work never cools. To reinforce and lock in the loop, there is a practical and immediate activation. Write, clearly and with feeling, the phrase, "I am in my divine state." When you write it, do not treat it as a wish, but as a statement of the present moment. This simple practice pulls you out of scattered mental flow and puts you into a state of conscious transmission. Turning this discipline into a game makes the process even more powerful. Create a visible progress bar, marking how many consecutive days you've applied the complete loop. With each micro-victory, an email sent with coherence, a conversation maintained without misalignment, a decision taken in the tone of the I am, you reset the scoreboard visually and celebrate. This not only maintains motivation, it creates a network of small victories that strengthen the habit until it becomes unbreakable. When this cycle is steady, it is time to seal the frequency with a clear and definitive manifesto, the manifesto of the divine state. It condenses into 7 lines the essence of everything you have lived up to this point, identity before circumstance. The field mirrors, it does not edit. Interrupt the old, install the neutral aligned. Mind-heart coherence before action. Body secure in the new role. Resonance attracts effortlessly. Daily consistency fixes the pattern. This manifesto is not to be read mechanically, but lived. To imprint it into your field, there is a ritual of just 30 seconds. Place your hand over your heart, take 3 deep breaths, and with total presence declare, "I am that I am." Not as someone pleading, but as someone recognizing and confirming a truth already established. Feel the words reverberate in your chest, expand through your skin, sink into your bones, until no doubt remains that the declaration is your vibrational signature. This seal is the echo of the final oath of the Hermetic initiates, who declared irreversible union with the All and commitment to live in accordance with the divine mind. In alchemy, it is the moment of projection, when the philosopher's stone symbol of full consciousness, touches common metal and transmutes it instantly. Here, you are both the alchemist and the stone itself, and by applying it to the matter of your life, you raise every area to the level of the vibration you have chosen to inhabit. If you have made it this far, leave in the comments, "I am in my divine state." This tells me you have anchored the frequency and are committed to your transformation. If you would like to help the channel directly, there is a link to contribute in the first pinned comment. It is very important to me and to the growth of the channel. Any help you can give makes a difference. Just by staying until the end, you are already helping a lot, and you can also share this video with someone who needs to hear this today. And don't leave yet. I've set aside a special video for the next step. Click on the video on the screen now, and I'll see you there.